Few people get to live out their lifelong dream of playing professional sports. Even fewer get to experience a long and productive professional career, becoming a fan favorite along the way. Almost none get to achieve all of these feats in a city where they grew up and thrived at all levels in their hometown. Believe it or not, that's just a small part of the story of Sam Hubbard. As a kid, Hubbard grew up rooting for his hometown Cincinnati Bengals, cheering them on at the then-named Paul Brown Stadium. As he entered his teens, Hubbard became an outstanding dual-sport athlete in both football and lacrosse. He excelled in both sports at Moeller High School, gaining national attention for his talents. As the time came to decide upon one sport and a prestigious university calling for his talents, Hubbard had many options to sift through. But when the Ohio State came calling with a scholarship offer for football, he knew that that's where he was destined to be. Hubbard joined the Buckeyes in the 2014 recruiting class and added to a star-studded roster. Although he ended up redshirting his freshman year, Hubbard was initiated to the college ranks with a national championship. From there, Hubbard became one of the most valued players on an Ohio State team that was routinely in the hunt for more national championships. He parlayed his performances into becoming a third-round pick in the NFL draft, number 77 overall, to his beloved Cincinnati Bengals in 2018. He was part of a class that also featured Jesse Bates in what would be the last in Marvin Lewis's tenure with the team. Immediately, Lewis noted that Hubbard was, quote, ahead of the curve as a rookie, and he showed that with an initial campaign of 6 sacks and 39 tackles. When Zach Taylor took over as head coach for Lewis the next year, he was one of only a few players held over from the previous regime. Taylor strategically held on to young and upcoming players like Hubbard, Bates, and Tyler Boyd, relying not only on their on-field production, but also their leadership capabilities in the locker room. That reliance on upstanding veterans was a staple of Taylor's plan to rebuild the Bengals, and Hubbard was at the heart of that strategy. Proving that those rookie numbers weren't a fluke, Hubbard turned a corner in his second season, racking up 79 total tackles and 8 sacks in 2019. These were the stepping stones for a guy whose career became synonymous with stability and consistency. While the first 3 years of his career were tough to navigate, with the Bengals winning just 12 games from 2018 through 2020, Hubbard remained steadfast in his newfound position as a team leader. Even though he was still pretty young in terms of both his career and overall age, he was a tentpole of good years to come. We were fortunate to talk to Sam on a number of occasions on the Orange and Black Insider, and as he hit the peak of his career, he spoke about his desire to assert himself as a leader and take the team to the next level.
All my focus has gone into, what can I do to make this a playoff team, a successful team, being a leader here, and obviously, I want to be the best player I can be, but, it's more about, not as much personal goals and personal gains, but whatever I can do to help this team win and be successful, because that's ultimately what it's all about. That's where, why I love football. I love winning championships, winning games. That's what makes this game great, and that's what I'm focused on.
In the 2020 and 2021 off seasons, the Bengals made great strides in giving Hubbard more help on defense, particularly on the defensive line, with DJ Reader, BJ Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, and Trey Hendrickson all being signed to bolster the unit, and Hubbard thriving with their arrivals. His consistency remained during one of the best stretches in team history, even though he was overshadowed by a number of other stars and high draft picks who own the highlight reels. Quietly, Hubbard was incredibly reliable and had some of the biggest performances in the most high-profile of games. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Evan McPherson, Hendrickson, and Bates got love for huge plays in clutch moments, but Hubbard came up with enormous plays to get the Bengals to and through 2 AFC Championship games. We know that the rivalry between the Bengals and the Chiefs hit new levels in the Burrow era, and rightfully so, given the epic battles between the squads over the past 4 seasons. While all of the other aforementioned players played crucial roles in deep playoff runs, Hubbard made his own mark in Cincinnati history. Few may remember that he had critical plays against the Chiefs in so many clashes in such a short period of time. While many remember the heroics of others in the 2021 AFC Championship game, Hubbard had a huge sack towards the end of regulation that forced an overtime opportunity instead of a Chiefs win.
He's got protection. Too much time. You can't do that. All the way back to the 21. Now they chase him. Spins around, and the ball's out. It was recovered, though, by Junie. It was Hubbard.
That
McPherson.
eventually led to...
And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl. He called it again, I'm sure. He walked up and he goes, "Can you believe, Coach? We're going to the Super Bowl."
The following year, the Bengals were attempting to make the AFC Championship game once again, where they would head to an eventual rematch at Arrowhead Stadium against the Chiefs once again. But it was a play that happened a couple of weeks prior that catapulted them back to that high-profile game. Hosting Baltimore in the wild card round, Tyler Huntley and the Ravens had the Bengals on the ropes in a 17-17 game in the final quarter. Huntley was called on for the quarterback keeper, and it looked like a play destined to be a gut punch to the Bengals and their playoff hopes. Instead, a miracle happened, and one of the most iconic plays in Bengals history took place, and thus the fumble in the jungle was born.
Put them right around Huntley. He reaches. Oh, that ball's out. That's live. Back the other way. Sam Hubbard, the Cincinnati Kid. Hubbard's got a convoy. Chased by Andrews. At the 30, the 20, he will score!
Over the past couple of years, Hubbard experienced nagging injuries, but due to his warrior nature, he battled through them, missing only 7 games the past 3 years through some pretty gruesome ailments. While the previous 2 seasons didn't net the Bengals playoff berths, Hubbard's mark was made in 2024. He notched his first career interception, safety, and yes, touchdown reception.
To the end zone. Juggling catch is made by Sam Hubbard.
He tore a knee ligament on the play, showcasing the heart and effort he always put forth on the field, albeit in an unfortunate outcome. Then on March 5th, 2025, Hubbard took to social media to announce his retirement from pro football. True to his form, it wasn't with a major press conference or with much fanfare, and it was also overshadowed by other headlines regarding other Bengals stars, but it was a bittersweet goodbye to the city for which he gave it all. Few people get to play 7 seasons in the NFL. Fewer for only one team, much less their hometown one, and get to place the stamp Hubbard did on the Bengals. He didn't get all of the accolades he deserved, but his impact on the organization is a lasting one. You can see in these clips just what Hubbard meant not only to the team, but to the city of Cincinnati and to Bengals fans everywhere.
Sam Hubbard, one of my all-time favorites till the day I die, just because this dude's all ball. He's all about the team. He's represented himself and his family and community that way since Bowler to Ohio State to Cincinnati Bengals. You're going to talk to every person in that man's life, and they're all going to tell you the same thing. One of the greatest people he'll ever be around. Really cared more about others than he cared about himself, quite frankly, and that's why he's experienced all the success. Because when you've got a team full of Sam Hubbards, then you're going to achieve success because they're just doing what's best for everybody else and willing to make sacrifices. And I had to beg him to go out there to run that pass route and catch a touchdown pass, on his final play of the season. But again, Sam's one of those guys that, is just one of the all-time favorites.
I'm thinking more about Sam Hubbard. There's so many memories, I think, of his play, but I think we got to know him a little bit on this show, and he was always so gracious with the media in general, even when things weren't going very well with the Bengals. He was always willing to talk and everything. And one of my best friends growing up, arguably my best friend growing up, is his name is Ben, and he is the best person I know, I think, to this day. He was an honor roll student. He's now an engineer, but he played football for a year at Dayton. So he was good enough to play college football while being one of the smartest people I know, and just one of the most kind-hearted, good people that I know. And unfortunately, his football career ended a little bit shortly because he focused on being an engineer and being the best student that he could be. And now he's doing phenomenal in that career field. But I'm just thinking that, like, Sam Hubbard is like if my friend Ben actually made it to the NFL, and he was also from Ohio and from Cincinnati and played for the Bengals. And that makes it more special for me, because knowing someone like Hubbard, who's just a complete stand-up person who is always willing to do what's necessary for the betterment of the team and putting himself last, and then to see the team have success around him and how that made him feel and the effect that had on him, and how he can look back and say, like, yeah, like, my career was a resounding success and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, those are the people and players that you need to cherish when they're here. Hubbard is a special person, and he deserves all the flowers that he's getting right now, because there are so many people like him that unfortunately don't make it as far as he did, but he did, and he had a career that 90+% of NFL players would only dream of.
What awaits Hubbard next remains to be seen, but it would seem that the Bengals Ring of Honor is a logical step. Congratulations on a great career, 94. Thanks for everything.